everybody, Shawn Pupello, also known as the Tenacious Mrs. P. I'm here with another episode in the series Behind the Scenes. I'm here with Erin Price from Super Inspection Pros, and we're going to talk about home inspections today, things that you need to know, whether you're a buyer or a seller. It's always good to know before you need the home inspector what to expect and why they're a great idea. So thank you for joining me today.
Excellent.
Appreciate your time. Can we start off with just you telling us, like, why is a home inspection so important?
So during your inspection period, you have the right to review the property, hire an inspector, and really you want to get out in front of any potential costs that may be coming up buying this property. Roof age, HVAC age, those are big ticket items. What kind of plumbing may be an insurance concern or might need to be replaced. Also the type of construction it is. There's a lot of difference between a frame house to stucco on block. So you get a 1987 T111 siding wood frame house, it's going to have a whole lot different requirements. So you want to know what you're buying, and that's the biggest time. So that's your time period to make sure you know what you're getting into.
Okay. And good to know different houses, types of construction, and other additional things you may need, and we can touch on it at a different time, but maybe if you need a wood destroying organism, or actually maybe we can touch on it now, because I recommend to folks to get the wood destroying organism inspection even if it's a concrete block home. Is that something that you recommend also with the trusses? I mean, I don't know how often it is that you would find termites or something in those.
So they could be in either type. Definitely more alarm if it's a wood frame home with wood siding where it's got like mulch beds in contact with the wood or moisture. So definitely a higher alert. But it can happen in a stucco block house, just as well as it can in a wood frame house. So you want to know basically, has there been any treatment stickers? When was it? What type was it? And for what type of species of termite?
Okay.
So it's still a good idea to get one.
Okay.
I would just highly recommend it more on a wood frame home.
Okay. So you wouldn't feel like it was really a mandatory thing, and
it's mandatory if it's a VA loan.
Right.
So
either way,
if you have a VA loan, you're going to have a WDO inspection.
There you go. So what does a average home inspection cost, and about how long does it take from beginning of the process to receiving the report?
So I'd say the average home is about $300 to $400. It usually takes about 2.5 to 3 hours for a one-person inspection to do it. If we have 2 people, it's about 1.5 hours, maybe 2. It really just depends on what the house is throwing at you. So if it's a complicated house and it's been segmented up and there's 4 electric panels and 2 ACs, it can take a little bit longer, but it's based on the size of the home. So the bigger the home, the more expensive it's going to be.
And I guess then the longer it takes,
right,
time-wise. The
longer it's going to take. So we allot for all that. We got our times pretty good, what can be done in that amount of time. So with big houses, we put 2 people on them. That way the realtor's not there all day, the client's not there all day, and we're not there all day.
Right.
So.
And your turnaround time for your report, how long would you say it takes?
We get all of our reports out the next day.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep, it's we're getting better. So sometimes it's same day now.
Right.
So we're always improving, but we guarantee it usually out in the next morning.
That's pretty fantastic. You want your report as quickly as possible after your home inspection, because your due diligence period is only a certain length of time, and especially if you are behind in getting your appointment set, which won't happen with me, but you'll then be kind of in crunch time, and you'll feel the sting and the anxiety of, am I going to get this reviewed, and are we going to be able to get our wants and needs covered before that period ends? It's very important. What are some instances where the inspector may not inspect a certain area of the home?
We go wherever there's access. So most of the time when we don't go somewhere, it's because it's an access issue. Now sometimes you get into a crawl space and it's so tight that you can't really go anywhere. So in that case, I'm looking for all my perimeter accesses to get the best information I can get. So as long as I can fit my shoulders into it, we can pretty much get into it. A lot of times blocked access, so if the home is occupied, and the garage is packed full of stuff, and we got to get in the attic, or there's an old antique car there, and no one's got the key to move. You know, that can be an issue because you want to know what's in the attic.
Yes.
And so do we.
Right.
So it's good to work with, realtors who communicate well so that they can say, hey, we're having an inspection today. Please give us access to a water heater, to electric panels, to attic and crawl space accesses. So
there you go. So if you're listing your home, either now or in the future, so that's something to keep in mind to make everything go as smoothly as possible and avoid any issues. You want to have those things accessible to the home inspector when they come, because it's equally as important to you that they're able to perform that due diligence, and then that moves your contract along towards your closing in a very timely manner. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind the home inspector is not going to move the couch in the entertainment center to look at the wall behind those furniture items. So as the buyer, you have the opportunity to kind of peek yourself during that home inspection. That's your opportunity to look at all those nooks and crannies, and I recommend that you do that so that when you then do your final walkthrough, you do not find something that was covered by a piece of furniture that if you could have potentially seen behind it, because your home inspector is not going to be able to do that. I don't think, are you not allowed to? I would think it was a liability to be moving things.
I mean, we look behind, it depends on if it's right up against the wall, we're not moving out furniture, but at the base of the couch or entertainment center, if there's a little gap, we try to look everywhere possible because we want to catch on the front end.
Right.
It's in everybody's interest to do that.
Yep.
So I tell my guys and me, just look for it. It takes 2 more seconds.
Right.
To just be thorough and make sure.
Exactly, and you definitely want that. So they're looking for everything for you, from the missing faceplate on the outlet cover to the leaky roof. So keep that in mind. It's going to be every little thing that they discover is going to be disclosed to you, and it will also be disclosed to you in the report if they are not able to access a particular area. So be really aware of that as well. Do you feel like new construction buyers should have those homes inspected as well? And if you do, why?
Yeah, I do. Reason why it's going to be a lot more like installation deficiencies, overlooked, installs. For one time I had a dishwasher that didn't have the hose clamp on installed on it. And if it runs, bam, it blows off. You got water everywhere, right over your new kitchen cabinet. So insulation, they miss areas of that, and that's pretty widespread. I see that in a lot of inspector posts. So it's just an overlooked thing. They're dealing with a lot of contractors, and they're putting these things up very quickly, and it just can get overlooked. So most of the time it's going to be more, I'd say nitpicky type items, but it's a new house.
Right.
Our job's to go in there and nitpick it, and it should be brand new condition, and everything should be perfect.
Yes.
So that's what I would recommend.
It should convey to you basically perfect. So keep that in mind too. New construction, if you're spending $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 on a brand new home, consider, even though it sounds like one more expense, that's $300 to $500 that might save you a big headache later down the road. What are a few things that maybe sellers should know to prepare their house for a home inspection? I know we talked a little bit about, making things accessible. Is there maybe something that we didn't cover that you would think that would be helpful?
I'd say have your remotes ready. If you've got remote fans, if you've got a remote for your pool equipment, anything that someone going in there might not know, it's nice when I see them and they have a little thing laid out and they're like, hey, this goes to this goes to that. And then you're not running around guessing or writing something up that didn't need to be written up, and you can just go through the house as intended. That's a big one, and I'd say access is key on the other one. We bring all of our equipment there, so I don't need ladders set up and all this other stuff. We've got everything we need to do the job. It's just getting to items. Sometimes when you're in a packed garage and there's a whole rack of all your kids' soccer and baseball equipment, and you're like, oh man, the panel's right behind that. So that's, that's a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God,
you
there's
really
a ton
need
of
that.
stuff.
You need that. You need those panels accessible for your 4-point inspection
right.
as well.
We don't want to come back out there, so we're going to figure something out. But it just delays getting the inspection, going through it. Throws a wrench in it. So
So I don't think that we talked about this, but or that I told you I was going to ask you this. Is there something, either a thing or two, that you wish every buyer knew before you came out, or before they
wish they
contacted
knew.
you? Or maybe is there like something that you over the course of your experience realized that they just don't know this particular thing that they should know?
Yeah, I'd say the big stuff usually surprises me. So when I go to a house and it has an old roof, and I get down and I'm like, hey, it's an old roof, you're going to need a roof replacement because of age, insurance concerns, or whatever. And then, I guess looking at it, we just see it differently.
Yeah.
So that's probably one thing I would just know. You're not going to know that because it's age ranges on material. Not everyone's going to know that. But if you're dealing with an older house and it's a wood frame home and you need a clean WDO for your VA loan, don't waste your time on that house, because we're going to find stuff, and then if they're not willing to fix it, or if it's too much, you've kind of wasted your inspection fee on that. So I would do a little bit more looking at not just the inside, take a walk around the outside and make sure, oh man, that looks rotten. Oh, this is, what's going up here on the fascia, it's all green, and just take a little bit more time not to look at how cute the bathroom and the kitchen is, because that's great. That's what sells a house, and that's what we want. But it's a heartbreaker when it's all done well inside and then everything's old roof, old AC. You got wood rot out the wazoo, and the electric panel needs to be replaced. And you're like, oh, this was the cutest house. I love this house.
Yeah.
But then there's $20,000 of expenses coming in with this.
Right.
So that's one thing I would say.
Okay.
Just to be aware of the full picture of what you're buying, not just a couple aspects of it.
Those are excellent points. And if you are working with an excellent realtor or real estate agent, they're going to also guide you in those things. And they're going to be, if you're an FHA or a VA buyer and you go to a home and either it's disclosed on the seller's property disclosure that the roof is 15 or 18 years old, or if it just looks old and tired, they would bring that concern up to you. In a perfect world, being professional and knowledgeable, because it is what we do. We're not the home inspector, so we don't give that kind of advice, but we can say, hey, this roof is 18 years old, and reasonably, does it have 20 years of life total, or what may the case be? You might want to consider if that's really the house for you. Especially if it's listed as is, where is. They're not going to replace the roof. So really now you're going to spend your money on your home inspections and your appraisal and all of those things, and then it may not come to fruition anyway. And it might just be a big waste of time. It might be. Also, I didn't ask you prior to this, but do you have a preference if the buyers come to the home inspection or not? And at the same time, does it make it easier for you if the sellers are not present during the time that you're there?
So yes to both.
Okay.
So I would say for buyers, if you're buying a home, come about an hour and a half into the inspection. That way, by that time, the inspector's been through all of the big stuff. We know all the ages of the systems, the condition, and we've gone through about 60% of the home inspection. Really, then it's just interiors and bathrooms, kitchens, attic. And then as for the sellers, I'd say I understand it's nerve-wracking. I get it. And someone's going through your house, but we're just looking at the house. It's a job like anybody else's job where you just get used to doing what you do. And so the more stops and this is this way because of this, it actually breaks up my flow for me getting out of there quicker. Yeah. I'm happy at the end, to go over everything with anybody, really. At that point, because then we have the full story, and then I might have found some clues and the seller's there and it explains something. Okay, that makes sense, so it can fill in the gaps on the back end. But really, it's better just for the buyer to be there about an hour and a half into it, and then for the recap, because you want to hear that, because the report is every little defect in the house, big and scary. And when you're there in person, we can go over and have a conversation, what to expect, and then that's probably the best way I've found that works.
Okay.
Happy to do it over the phone too, because we have a lot of out-of-state buyers.
Right. Yeah.
But verbally is a lot better than just getting a report and you're like, oh my God, there's
Look at
all
all
this
this
stuff
stuff.
in this house. And because we've chock full of pictures and information, so
Yes.
it can be intimidating.
Yeah.
It's better to get that verbal review.
Okay. Awesome. And is there anything that you think that you would like to cover that we didn't cover that you feel is important for the public to know?
I'd say when you're in the process of home buying, you should also be screening inspectors.
Mm-hmm.
People call me and they say, Aaron, we're getting close to put a contract on. How far out is your schedule? Especially with how tight the market is right now, where we've got 5 and 7 days most of the time. So it's good to have that game plan to where maybe you can submit an offer with 3-day inspection period.
Mm-hmm.
If it's during the week, we can pretty much get to that, it seems like. So that is a good bit of communication. Check the reviews, word of mouth. I mean, that's the biggest advertising you can do. So we're highly reviewed, thoroughly vetted, and we'd love to work with you.
Awesome. Awesome. I always recommend to my buyers to do a Google search, to also look at those reviews, you could even look them up on the DBPR. A lot of people, everyday people don't realize that's a thing. And then if there's any complaints that might be filed there, if it's against your licensee, it'll be there too. And another good thing about working with a great realtor, great real estate agent, super professional, they're going to do exactly what Aaron's talking about. They're going to know what their home inspectors have available when you get ready to write your offer. They're already making that call. Hey, we're writing this offer. What does your schedule look like this week? And that does help you, because you have to be competitive in every way that you can in today's market. It's very important. So, well, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate you doing this with me. And
thank you so much. I had a blast.
Awesome. Once again, Aaron Price with Super Inspection Pros, Shawn Pupello, Tenacious Mrs. P. Join me next time on Behind the Scenes.